So there is so much in the news. I just thought we'd do a newsy video because I don't want to. What I find myself doing is I have all these things I want to talk about, and then I'm like, I get overwhelmed. I'm like, I can't make videos about all of this stuff, and then I just don't make anything. So the big one, of course, is that Trump is back. He was inaugurated today, and Biden is out. Funny little story. Biden pardoned 5 of his relatives on his way out the door. You just think, like, they're all corrupt, right? Trump is corrupt. Biden was like the guy we were supposed to bring in to clean up Trump's corruption. And he has 5 relatives that, on top of Hunter Biden, that he's pardoned here. I mean, I don't have 5 relatives that have legal issues. Like, there's... Like, who has 5 relatives that need to be pardoned by the president? That's wild. Anyways, so Trump's back. I am not taking a doom and gloom stance here. You know, I'm not a Trump guy, but, I wasn't really a Biden guy either. I think we have a lot of shitty choices in our country, unfortunately. And I just think, I made a video about how out of touch the left has been. And it's weird because the right has been more sensible and in touch with a lot of people's concerns, whether that's immigration, inflation, or just internet stuff like censorship. And Trump has been pretty good on some of these issues, bad on other issues. He's much more extreme on immigration than I am, though I do think that you have to. I think the left has to take a stronger stance on especially violent crime and those issues that come with immigration and cultural issues. I mean, just bouncing off of the United States over to Europe, I think the immigration question there is a pretty big deal when it comes to, the rise of Islamist culture. And I'm not just talking about Muslims, but just the extremism that we're seeing. That's going to... If the left doesn't handle that, if they don't come up with some kind of solution, then extreme right-wing parties are going to have more and more success in Europe. And that's not good from my perspective. The last time an extreme right-wing party had a big influence in Europe, we had World War II and the Holocaust. So let's not do that again, guys. All right. So anyways, we'll see what happens. I think what we've already started to see on Twitter, I've been seeing this, people denying that there was ever a satanic panic. We're going to see more of the rise, I think, again, of right-wing, censorship and right-wing, anti-sex, anti-violence, that kind of stuff. That was always the realm. The moral majority bullshit, like, violence in video games causes violence in real life. That was always kind of a right-wing thing until the woke left kind of came into existence. And then suddenly they were moralizing and censoring. And so there's been a backlash to that. Well, I think things come full circle. It all happens in a cyclical way. And I'm sure we will see more of that as the right is ascendant. And this is the problem with ascendancy. This is the problem with any group that takes control, takes power. They start to fuck it up. That's just how it goes. Which is why we should be concerned with things like censorship, right? We don't want too much power to ever be held in the hands of our government. Which brings us to the next news item, TikTok. TikTok was banned, and it went into effect, and then it came back online all within hours because Trump said that he was going to extend the date for the sale of TikTok to a U.S. company, or the divestiture of the U.S. portion of that business. So I don't care about TikTok. I don't use it. I think it's silly and frivolous in a lot of ways. But I do think that some people like Justin Amash and Thomas Massey and Rand Paul and some of the other, more libertarian-minded Democrats have brought up a good point, which is that this is a form of censorship. And this is the government utilizing its power. Granted, we should have concerns about Chinese interference and spying, and, we should have concerns with, the way we trade with China, especially with our, intellectual property and whatnot. There are concerns with Chinese exerting its influence in the United States. There are concerns, but at the same time, as Massey pointed out, the only way to enforce a TikTok ban is to leverage power over U.S. citizens and U.S. App stores and things like that. We don't really have any direct power over China itself, but we do have power over our own citizenry. And so there is concern that the government is using its power here in a way that qualifies as overreach and could have an impact on U.S. businesses, social media. We've already seen the government try to, censor and craft the narrative with, pre-Musk Twitter and so on and so forth. So there are plenty of concerns here that go beyond just, we want TikTok because we want to use our favorite app or whatever. Over across the ocean in the Middle East, Israel and Hamas have come to a ceasefire. This one, of course, I would love to see peace in the Middle East. I would love to see an end to the killing and the destruction, and lots of innocent life has been taken since October 7th, and of course, for decades before October 7th, this has been an ongoing issue, an ongoing, they're always at war. A ceasefire, just these last couple of years have just been heightened. And the trouble with this ceasefire, as I see it, is that so long as Hamas has any power at all, this is never going to end. A lot of the protesters, the anti-Israel protesters, have this bizarre idea that Israel needs to give everything back to Palestine. And I just love seeing U.S. protesters who live in a country where all the land was stolen from Native Americans through conquest and all sorts of bad deals and betrayals. I love that they want Israelis to give back this tiny parcel of land in if you look at the map of the Middle East, Israel's tiny compared to all the Muslim territories and countries. They want them to give it back and then I guess just leave their homes and go away, or form a government where they are the minority, at which point what would happen. I mean, if Jews in Israel are no longer in control of the government, they are going to be killed, and it is going to be another Holocaust. It's going to be much worse than anything Israel has done to the Palestinians. And it's not to say that they have done everything right? There's blood on everyone's hands over there. But if they come to a ceasefire, a peace agreement that leaves terrorists in control, this is just all going to happen all over again. It just sort of feels to me like at a certain point the Israeli government just has to go to whatever lengths it takes to completely end the terrorism threat. And I don't know what that looks like, but I just don't see another option. Maybe there's some way to forge a two-state solution over there. Maybe. I don't know how. It is not going to be pretty no matter what, but I don't understand. I don't understand how this ceasefire achieves anything except for giving Hamas time to lick its wounds, resupply, get more bombs, and carry out some other horrible, egregious attack on civilians. And then we have what we know we'll have is another huge reaction from Israel and bombing and da-da-da-da-da. And this has to reach something much, 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 much more concrete than a ceasefire. And that has to involve, unfortunately, countries like Egypt and Jordan, and they're not going to play ball. So I don't really know. It's another one of those situations where it's like, you have to ask yourself, what would you do if you were Israel? What would we do if terrorists came into our country and raided a rave and killed 1,000 people and took a bunch of people hostage? Like, what would we do? We'd have a huge reaction. And Israel is surrounded by enemies. So you have to put yourself in the shoes of the Israeli people and the Israeli government. And obviously, people can disagree on that reaction, how they've carried out this war, et cetera, et cetera. But I just don't know what they're supposed to do. And nobody seems to, the protesters, they're their solution seems to be one that ends with a lot of Jewish people dying. And I think we should avoid that. So, not to say that we shouldn't avoid, a lot of innocent Palestinians dying. I mean, that we don't want that either. But what do you do when terrorists, and Hamas is a terrorist organization, what do you do? It's a tough question. Beyond that, I guess I think I had other stuff to talk about. Let me see. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Elon Musk. A lot of people love Elon Musk, and a lot of people hate him. I just think he's kind of a buffoon. I mean, I know. People always say, oh, well, he's made all these successful companies. He's the wealthiest man on earth. He can't be. He's a genius, whatever. But, I mean, the man lied about his Diablo 4 and Path of Exile 2 characters. Like, he has now admitted to paying someone to boost his accounts after many times claiming that he is like one of the greatest gamers ever, and going on the Joe Rogan podcast and saying that he's this amazing gamer. And he really did try to portray himself this way. There's no question here. He made it look as though he was playing these top tier characters. And then he went on a stream where, if you've been following this at all, it was quite clear that he is not a top-tier Path of Exile 2 player. He didn't know a lot about the game, like a lot. Now, I'm not a Path of Exile 2 player, so I can't get into the nitty-gritty of this, but it was very clear, if you watch the videos from the people covering this, that he was lost, and yet he had one of the top players in the world, or characters in the world. So a lot of people called him out. Asmongold called him out, and instead of just admitting it, Elon Musk, it appears he soft blocked Asmongold and stopped following him and took away his blue check for a little while, though it's back, and like talked shit about Asmongold on Twitter, saying he's a bad gamer, and totally mistook his DMs with Asmongold saying about his editors, his video editors, and thought that they were his bosses, and then leaked the DMs, which is just so shady. I just think, like, what's the point of all this? Why, when you're the richest man in the world and you own Twitter and you have Starlink and all this stuff, Tesla, why lie about your gaming? Like, the answer to what you should be doing here is just playing games for your followers. You don't have to be the best. Like, I will take the shitty Elden Ring build that he put together and him just bumbling through any day of the week over faking it. Dude is in his 50s. You don't have to be one of the best gamers in the world. For the most part, if you're that old, if you're as old as me, you're not going to be one of the best gamers in the world because you don't have it anymore. Your coordination, your eyesight, your knowledge of video games, your depth of knowledge isn't going to be there. And I'm sure, he's a fine gamer. He's decent, obviously. But, like, I'm not going to pretend that I'm, like, some champion Call of Duty player. Like, I have some good plays, and I have fun playing. And that's the point, is to have fun playing your games. And if you have fun streaming your games, show people the fun you're having. Don't show them how badly you are clearly faking it. Which isn't to say he was faking his stream, just that he didn't build that character. He finally admitted it, so good for him for that, I guess. But the whole thing it's pretty laughable to me. It's pretty funny. So that was it. Yeah. Trump inaugurated on Martin Luther King Day. Israel stuck in this terrible situation. TikTok and the dubiousness of its ban, even though we do have to be concerned with China and Elon Musk. See, 4 big news items in one video. That's a good deal, I think, personally. I do have more stuff I want to make. I need to make a Severance Season 2 review. I've seen all 10 episodes, so I need to talk about that. I'll make a spoiler-free video. I don't want to spoil all the stuff that happens, but that I will have, and some other stuff. I've been watching a lot of shows and some movies, so I know I haven't made a lot of videos lately. Life has been so busy and hectic, as per usual, but I'm hoping to make more. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about all this. If there's any other interesting news stuff going on, I thought about talking about the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni thing, because Lively referred to herself as Khaleesi, as in Daenerys Targaryen, which I think is hilarious, but that's maybe a little too gossipy to dive into today. Anyways, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment. Peace.